Lee Dunahauer, Mr. Imagic. Today we're going to be talking about balancing light and shadow using both a combination of Photoshop 2021 and Luminar AI. So let's see what we can learn about it. Now, here's an image that was shot with an iPhone of the morning rush hour in our kitchen with our 7 cats. And this is a classic example of light and shadow needing adjustment because, as you can see here, with the morning sun coming through the kitchen window here, everything's kind of over bright, and over here by the stove where the morning sun's not quite making it through the window, we have the cats in shadow. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to darken the light areas and bring out the shadows, and our net result is going to be something like this, if I can get my computer to bring that up again. There we go. Wow. Computers do weird things. Okay, so you'll notice that the lighting here is more balanced out, and this is what we're going to shoot for. So without any further ado, let's see what we can learn on this. So I'm going to open up this image. It's just called 7 Cats JPEG. And we'll wait for a second here, and that should open it up in Photoshop 2021. And there we go. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to duplicate the background layer over here. And actually, I'm going to duplicate it twice because I'm going to show you 2 different ways to go about this. So Command J and Command J. So let's name the first layer. We're going to call that Photoshop Raw. And we'll call the second layer Luminar AI. There we go. So let's go to our Photoshop Raw layer first. And we're going to hit Shift Command A to bring up the Photoshop Raw. And there we go. And as you can see over here on the right-hand side, you can adjust highlights, shadows, and so forth and so on. So let's go ahead and let's bring the highlights down. There we go. That's not too bad. And we're going to bring the shadows up. Now notice when I do this, as I start to move the shadows up, you'll see the shadows lightening in here as well. And they also tend to bring things up elsewhere in the image. So let's do that. Bring it up. There we go. And now we can see all the cats rather clearly. And it's still a little blown out here. And it's still a little too bright over here. However, you'll notice that on highlights, I'm maxed out. I'm at minus 100. I can't bring them down any more than that. So we're going to click OK. And that's pretty much the best we can do in Photoshop Raw, which isn't bad. It's an improvement, but we can do better. So let's try the same thing. And we're going to go over here to Luminar AI, and we're going to click on Filter, come down to Skylum, and we'll open up Luminar AI's plugin in Photoshop. And it just takes a few seconds, and I can sneak in a sip of coffee. So there we go. Now, we're going to go to Edit, and of course, click the green button for full screen so we can see what we can do. And we're going to skip, let's try accent just a little bit. Let's add a little accent to this and see what that does. And yeah, it brings up a little more detail in the floor. And you definitely see it there in the carpet. The throw rug, you can see far more detail in there. And I kind of like accent for that. It's kind of quick and easy. Now, we're going to go down, if I can get this to come down here, to, there we go. We're going to go to Super Contrast down here in the Professional department. And we'll click on that. And we have pretty much the same thing set up here as in Luminar AI as we did in Photoshop Raw, so that we can adjust highlights and midtones and shadows separately. Actually, you don't get the midtones in Photoshop. You just get the highlights and the shadows. So, all right, let's start by let's just take that to the middle, and then we'll play with the balance. And there we go. And now, once we've got the contrast down there we go. And we're going to go to the shadows. We'll bring that up to about 50. And then we'll shift that in the opposite direction, which should lighten things up. There we go. There we go. And let's see, let's try midtone, see what that does. Take it up to 50, and then we'll start shifting. And there we go. Now, that's a little too much red in there, but that pretty much, there we go. I kind of like that there. I'm looking at this particular cat, which is the white, and giving the most reflection, and it's kind of dialing that back. And the other half of the coin is you can go down here, and I believe what we can do is there. See, we can dial that back so we don't get that blown out color quite so much. And that's the overall effect of what we just did. And that gives us a lot less reds. So we're going to click on that right there. And I'm going to say apply. And we'll just wait here for it for a second. And there we go. And we are back in Photoshop. So let's see. This is our Luminar AI adjustment for light and shadow. And let's take a look at how it came out in Photoshop when we did it and see how much paler it is. Okay? So Luminar does a much better job, I think. Now, admittedly, probably need to dial down the reds and the oranges a little bit in this, but that's not what this video is about. It's more about the shadows and the highlights and getting them set. So let's just go one more time here, and we'll duplicate the Luminar AI layer, and we're going to go back into Photoshop Raw. There we go. And Shift Command A to bring up the raw filter. And let's see if we can bring the saturation down just a smidge. There we go. And bring down the highlights a little bit more. There we go. I kind of like that. Bump up the shadows a smidge more. There we go. And maybe let's try a little dehazing, see if that helps. Yeah, it kind of brings the colors out a little bit there, but okay, let's try clarity. There, clarity seems to bump it up, and you can see it particularly in the weaving there of the throw rug. So, all right, I like that. So we use the two in combination, back and forth between the two. Each does a little bit, a little there, and you do finessing between AI and Photoshop, and I think it works fairly well. So the last thing I want to do is I want to add a vignette. Now, I have to tell you, can you do a vignette in Photoshop 2021? Of course, the answer is yes, you can do it. But in Photoshop, it's not very straightforward. You have to duplicate the layer. You have to put a mask around the area that you don't want darkened, and then you bring in the darkness around the edges. And in Luminar AI, it's much more straightforward, as I think you've seen in a previous video. So let's just, whoops, never mind. I need to duplicate the layer first of all. Okay, Command J, there we are. Sorry about that. And again, we're going to go back to Luminar. We'll just call it Luminar Vignette. There we go, and we'll open up the filter for Luminar once again. Come over here, Luminar AI. And another sip of coffee, I guess. There we go. Okay, hit the green button for full screen. We'll click on Edit. We're going to go straight to Vignette. And we're going to bring that down. And there we go. And you got to be kind of careful of that. I don't want to darken Tipper. That's Tipper, our oldest cat in the house. And but you can still see her. And now, with the vignette, we've focused the lighting right here in the main area, and you still see the other cats out at the perimeter. That's Pookie over there. This is Mona. If you want to meet our cats, this is Miss Sunshine. That's Fluffy. That's our youngest 6-month-old Claude Bonnet, we call him. And this here is Buster. All right, so I like that. We're going to apply. And we're almost there. And we're done. So we've gone from this. Actually, we've gone from this. Whoops. I turned them all off. There we go. This is where we started. This is where we finished. And that's how you adjust or balance lighting and shadows using Photoshop 2021 and Luminar AI. Look, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like, or better yet, subscribe to the channel down below, and you'll be notified every time I post a new video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.